informational session. We appreciate you taking the time to hear about these fantastic opportunities for our contractor community here in Riviera Beach. I am Anita Jenkins, the Director of Neighborhood Services for our Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, and I am also the Executive Director of our nonprofit, the Community Development Corporation. We are going to be talking about process procedures for accessing some of these opportunities. I'm joined on this Zoom by colleagues from the CRA in the city, and we'll get to them very quickly so that we could tell you who they are. So, Kristen, if you can go to the next slide, we'll jump right into it. We have on this call my colleagues from the CRA, Ms. Manoka Nugent, who is a senior project administrator, and Ms. Kristen Hicks, our marketing coordinator. And Kristen has been your main contact for this session. I would encourage you, if you have questions and you don't catch the email addresses or phone numbers, to reach out to Kristen and she can connect you to the resource people. We are also very pleased to have joining us this evening Ms. Althea Pimsel, our Director of Procurement for the City of Riviera Beach, and our Director of Finance, Mr. Randy Sherman. So we have brought the A team this evening. Next slide, please. The purpose of the session is to let you know that Riviera Beach is open for business. We're open, there are opportunities. We want to facilitate process. We want you to get to know us. We want you to come and do business in our city. Next slide, please. We're going to start off by talking about our procurement process. So I will turn it over to our colleague, Ms. Pimsel, to walk us through this portion.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our contractor outreach. Procurement and the CRA believes this is an important aspect for us to always pay attention to, because without our process partners that helps us to get the things and the projects completed, the bidding community is very important in that aspect. And so we look forward to developing business relationships with most of you. And I know for a fact that we've done a great deal of outreach already, and we want to continue to do that. So I'm pleased to be able to partner with CRA in their efforts. Next slide, please. Public procurement has a full range of activities. I'm always surprised when I say to others, they ask, what do you do? I say, well, I work in procurement. And they sort of look and they smile very nicely, but that's always a cue to me that they do not really understand. But then when I start telling them that it's things, for example, like buying grass, and I start saying, go to your park, think about your park, what's in your park? Grass, there's equipment, a play area, there's swings and things like that. So then I help them to understand that everything that a city needs to be able to operate is done through the procurement process. So we are the people that buy everything, and it ranges from office supplies all the way up to buildings and everything in between. So we are governed by some laws and regulations, including our own code. So one of the things that our goal is to have a competitive process for the suppliers to have even ground to be able to compete on. Next slide, please. We have what's called a centralized purchasing operation. That means we combine technology, process, and people together. And the technology is our enterprise systems. If you go on our website, you'll see that we use a system called Demand Star. And then for our process, we have two steps: informal or formal. Formal solicitations always require to be handled by procurement, and it has a dollar threshold associated with that, which is currently $25,000. The people. We rely on finance, accounts payable, our suppliers, delivery people, and a number of other people in the process to be able to get things done, including IT, public works. So there's a lot of things that go into getting what we need done. But the process itself is technology, process, and people together. Next slide, please. Who has authority to procure? Well, different departments have slightly different levels, but this is the basic approval process. The department can approve any purchases that's less than 2,500 using their P card, and procurement approves any purchases greater than 2,501. The city manager, as its designee, has the authority to approve contracts and purchases up to 25,000. The city council must approve all purchases over 25,000. Now, the mark of the dividing line is between the over 25K and under 25K. If it's under 25K, we use an informal process, which means that we go to you and ask for bids, and we can receive those via email. Formal process, it is a solicitation, it is advertised. The booklets then come into one of our locations, generally the city clerk's office, and then we do an official opening from there. We approve all purchase orders and we work with legal for contracts on form and legality. Next slide, please. What governs our laws? Well, procurement is governed by the procurement code, which is approved by the city council. We have Florida statutes that govern us. We have super circulars, which most of you may be unfamiliar with that term, but it relates to grant monies. And so there's specific guidelines that we must follow when there's grant monies involved. The Office of Management and Budget are the ones that governs us in that regard. The Uniform Commercial Code is a code, as it were, that governs the contract law and contract paper, as it's referred to. And remember, procurement is legally binding transactions. I think that we forget that over time, but that means that we covenant to do something and we have terms and conditions that each of us have agreed to, most times, because the city sometimes have some unilateral terms. Otherwise, if we do not comply or we breach, then that means we're in breach of the contract or covenant that we made. And that's where these laws come into play. Next slide, please. We're going to talk a little bit about supplier selection and evaluation. I think that many times the reason why some firms are not always as successful as they would like to be is because of the details. Details do matter. Next slide, please. When you're sourcing in the public space, there's a process involved. That meant that the department or the city identifies a need for a supply. And then we do a situation analysis to see what's out there. What exactly can we do? Do we have to go to the market? Do we have contracts already in place that we can use? And then we say, okay, well, if we do not, then who's out there? What is the potential supplier pool that we need to target? So we select suppliers based on a commodity code. Each of our purchases has a commodity code associated with that. Some of you may be familiar with the standard industry codes, the SIC codes. It's the same thing. For example, if we need engineering services, that code is 918-00. If we need office supplies, that's 520-00. So each one is a category. So it's very important when you are applying or going or putting your information in a database that you select the right commodity code. And also, we evaluate decisions, we compare actual and expected performances. Next slide, please. Solicitation types. Our solicitation types are invitation to bid, request for quotes, request for proposals, request for qualifications, request for information. And we also use other things like a request to qualify. That's when we're just going to have a pool of suppliers that's going to be available to us. And as we need them, we would get quotes. on a real-time market basis. Also, we have invitation to negotiate, which is not here, which is generally done for development and complex city projects. Each of these have their own sort of standard of review. For example, in an invitation to bid, you will hear that it's the low bidder. We feel that it is the best value. So by that we mean the invitation to bid, even though a price is low, they must be the lowest, most responsible bidder. Just because a price is low doesn't mean that they're a responsible bidder. And that's a very important distinction we'd like to make. Request for quotes is that when we're asking for 3 quotes via email or via a little quote document that we have. Requests for proposals are more formal, so those are usually issued by the procurement department, as well as the invitation to bids over a certain dollar threshold. Request for qualifications is how we engage professional services for engineers, architects, landscape architects, and those type of disciplines. The state statute governs what we must do and how we must do it, in addition to our own codes. Request for information. Generally, no award is made on request for information, but if the city is looking to obtain some information about the market, this is the tool that we use if we just don't know who's out there and who could help us. Next slide, please. The way suppliers are selected is generally based on an evaluation criteria inside the solicitation. It could be the number of years in businesses. It could be having done these sorts of projects or provided these kind of supplies in the same level or intensity that we're asking. We ask also for your business practices. What's your approach and what's your philosophy in terms of methodology, in terms of getting things done? And that's very important for us because we want to be sure that we can partner with someone that has the capacity, both in terms of staff and the economic capacity. Because sometimes when you start work, governments cannot really pay for work that's not done yet. So we don't generally give down payments or deposits and things like that. The statutes is not very supportive of that. But we use this criteria, which is why I always tell potential suppliers, pay attention to the details. It is those details. And also what I try to do to help is I try to have the criteria in one area so that you could see where the criteria is. For example, if I say you need to be in business for 5 years and have conducted similar projects, there's an explanation of what constitutes the 5 years and that you have to have be licensed or authorized by the city, by the state of Florida to do business in Florida. So it's those sorts of things that we look for. If you are a plumber or a electrician, we look for your license. If you're a construction company, we look for your license and to also see, how you manage your suppliers. Next slide, please. Some of the criteria you will always see has to do with costs, quality and safety, on-time delivery. What risks do you have? And how agile is your firm and how convenient? Sometimes there's a lot of exceptions to things that we put in solicitations. While we do review and accept exceptions, sometimes if it's going to be too difficult to reach a contract, those sorts of firms generally don't score as high. But we encourage you to let us know if our bid or our solicitation, excuse me, is lacking information or it's unclear or it's too ambiguous. We fully expect our potential partners to be able to point those things out to us, and we will answer questions in the addendum process. Next slide, please. One of the things that we often are pushing, for lack of a better word, is to understand the procurement process. Understanding that it goes out for solicitation, there's a cone of silence. If you're contacting other city officials and other city staff other than procurement, you could be disqualified. Understand the types of solicitations and what they require. For example, invitation to bid is more about we know exactly what we want, and we're asking you to price it and tell us when you can deliver it. Whereas a request for proposal, you would be answering or giving us a solution to a problem that we propose to you. We always ask that you be clear on what you're being evaluated on and use electronic tools to help find work. We believe that we have Demand Star and our solicitations are free to download, but there are other opportunities as well. And we encourage our firms local, especially to look for other opportunities as well as opportunities with us. By obtaining certification, it can broaden some of your opportunities and partnerships. Next slide, please. Are there any questions? Our
Thank you.
information, yes?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to tell them that we will put your contact email in the chat. And if you want to follow up afterwards, you can reach out to Kristen for contact, or if you have questions afterwards.
Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to doing business with most of you someday.
Thank you, Ms. Pencil. And a lot of this information is on the city's website at procurement, I believe. If you click
Yes.
and check out the city's www.riverabeach.org, and you can find a wealth of information there. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
guys.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you for
Our-
participating.
thank you. Our next section will be on business tax receipts, and Mr. Sherman will present that portion.
Yes, good evening, everyone. This is Randy Sherman, your City Finance Director. Yeah, we're going to speak a little bit on business tax receipt tonight. I did not put together 10 slides for you because it really is almost much more, far more simplistic than what you just saw with procurement. What Ms. Pemsel is talking about, is how you do business with the city. But the first things come first, and I hate to, be the wet blanket in the conversation, but if you're going to do business in the city, you must have a business tax receipt. And I have staff online that is going to walk you through that process and tell you a little bit about it. But the business tax receipt, in essence, is your ticket to not only being able to do business with the city, but it's also your ticket to be able to do business in the city. There are no businesses that are operating in the city of Riviera Beach that do not have or are not required to have a business tax receipt. And I will also say the same thing for the county. Even though you get a city business tax receipt, you also need to get a Palm Beach County tax receipt. For small startup businesses, the cost really is not burdensome. And what it does is it gets you on file, gets you in the records, and then allows you to proceed with your business. I will tell you back when the COVID hit and both the county and the city were trying to assist businesses with small business loans. We had a lot of people that were eligible, but just could not get the loan because they had never signed up for a business tax receipt. So it really is worth taking the time and effort to get it done. Business tax receipt is an annual requirement. It runs October through September. So we're actually in the process right now of going through and reissuing the licenses for next year. But on that, again, I won't take a lot of your time. I'm going to turn the conversation over to Nicola Anderson. Nicola Anderson is our lead business tax receipt staff member, and she will be able to walk you through exactly what you need to do to get a business tax receipt. Nicola, are you out there?
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Thank you. All right, Nicole, it's all yours.
Okay. My name is Nicola Anderson. I've been in business tax for about 3 years. Currently, we service about 1,726 customers. About 1,191 of those customers are residential, and 555 are commercial. So if you have a property, a house, a condo that you would like to rent to someone, you're required to have a license for that. And of course, we do commercial business, and if you're doing business if your company is outside of the city and you want to come into the city and do work, you also have to have a license. That is our out-of-city license. The process usually takes 2 weeks. Once we have your completed application, you go through inspections from code, building, fire, police, depending on the business, and also you get pre-approval from the zoning department. What else? And I'm sorry, we do 6 types of license. We have residential, of course, commercial, mobile vending, commercial business. There are 2 commercial. One is commercial business and one is commercial renting. So if you own a property, a commercial property that you would like to rent, you also would have to have a license to be able to rent that to your your tenants. We also do mobile vending, and if you do business from home, you're also required to have a license. So like Mr. Sherman was saying, when the pandemic started and everybody wanted their loans, some of our customers were just doing business from home, and therefore that's what they were all coming in to try to get a home-based business. So you're allowed to do business from home, and that's one of the licenses that we also issue to our customers. Are there any questions?
Nicola, where do they get the applications?
You can come down to business tax and pick it up Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. You would go upstairs. The first step, you would go upstairs to zoning. Zoning has to pre-approve all applications. And every application has on the front page what you would be required to bring back to us. So once you've completed that with your lease or your proof of ownership, your document from Sunbiz saying that you're registered with the state, you would bring all of that back to us with your application fee. We'll place it in our Q alert system. It goes through those 5 inspections: code, building, fire, police, and zoning. And once that's approved, we'll create your license and then call you and let you know your license is ready to be picked up, how much it'll be. For commercial customers, the license are based on your inventory. So every year we send out an affidavit to you so you could update your information. If you lost some employees, if you gained employees, all of that information we ask that you send back to us, and then we'll bill you for it. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Nicola, and thank you, Mr. Sherman, for the information. And I believe that Kristen has placed the contact information in the chat box for business tax receipts. And of course, you can go to the city's website at www.rivierabeach.org and click on, I guess there should be a tab for business tax receipts there, and get that information, and you can send an email to the email that's in the chat. Thank you, Mr. Sherman and Ms. Anderson. And if you have any other questions, you can put them in the chat box. And if our team members have to leave us, we'll make sure that they get the questions and we get you an answer. So thank you very much. Okay, next slide, please. Now we want to focus a little bit on opportunities and projects and tell you about some specific construction opportunities that are coming forward, primarily in our CRA area, but also throughout the city when it comes to affordable housing and workforce housing. If you're interested in knowing the boundaries of our community redevelopment agency. I will refer you to the CRA's website at www.rbcra.com. And on the front page, there is a tab where you can click the map, and you could see the shaded area for the CRA as well as the rest of the city. If you're working on a project and you're not sure where it's located, you could actually input the address and click, and the GIS mapping will take you to the address, and you could see if it falls in the shaded area or not. Or you could always call our office and we'll look it up and tell you if a project or property is within or without the CRA. I'm going to go through these housing opportunities pretty quickly. And if you have a question, you can stop me. We'll have a few minutes at the end for general questions, and we'll take it from there and talk about next steps. So next slide, Kristen. The Riviera Beach has a program called Neighborhood Reclaim. We're very fortunate that the CRA board has approved several programs that are aimed at improving our housing stock, exterior improvements, interior improvements, etc. And this program is provided through funding from the CRA as well as some private dollars for single family, one unit homeowners to make exterior improvements to their property. And these include fence replacement, painting, irrigation, landscaping, weatherization, and those are windows and doors, roof repair, replacement, driveway repair, and other minor exterior repairs to improve key homes within the CRA area. We give priority to improvements that are necessary to correct health, safety, and code violations. Next slide. We also have a program called the Riviera Beach Renaissance Program. And this program provides down payment and housing rehabilitation assistance for first-time homebuyers in the CRA. And under this program, those repairs can be exterior or interior improvements, including the repairs that I mentioned before, as well as air conditioning and heating, etc., kitchens, bathrooms. Applicants are selected on a first come, first ready, first served basis. Next slide. Under the Renaissance program, the CRA will acquire derelict properties and vacant land for demolition and reconstruction for new homes for purchase by first-time homebuyers. Next slide. We also have something called a Special Initiatives Program, where the CRA will acquire vacant and derelict or donated properties and develop them in partnership with agencies like the CDC, but it could be others, through a negotiated development agreement where this project meets the goals of the CRA. The CRA in this instance may contribute project and subsidy funds to be used for development and purchase. And these properties and vacant land must be located within the CRA area. Next slide. We also, I'm not going to get into details, but we also have other areas with future projects and possibilities that we encourage you to go to our website and sign up for our constant contact so you can get solicitations, you get our newsletters, you get information about community outreach activities, so you can hear when these programs come online and you'll know what the timelines are, etc. We have a commercial grant program to assist businesses within the CRA or people looking to locate into the CRA. And right now we're providing up to $40,000 in a grant match. A commercial owner, business owner can provide $10,000 and we'll provide $40,000. So you can do at least a $50,000 project, and that's a grant. We're also working on underground wire burial along US 1 or Broadway. So if you're in that type of construction, you could look for that opportunity to help bury those underground wires. We're working on a signage and enhancement program for our commercial businesses within the CRA. So if you're a contractor who does signage or beautification of buildings, commercial buildings, pay attention to this because we're providing money to the businesses who will be looking for contractors to undertake the work. Same here for our mural and wall art and statues program, where if you design, if you build, or if you're a painter, the murals always require painting before the artist can create the mural. So there's an opportunity for contractors who do painting, or if you do concrete work to install a statue. The building that we're in has a big concrete platform out front with a beautiful piece of exterior sculpture on it, and that required the use of a contractor. Next slide. Now I'd like to talk about some initiatives with the CDC, a partner with the CRA in the city, and some housing and construction opportunities that are particular to that agency. And keep in mind that there are others. So the more you get to know us, you sign up for your business tax receipt, you are enrolled in Constant Contact, which is just your name, address, email, and you're getting regular information about solicitations and bids, et cetera, as well as programs that we're planning, planning processes that we're going through. You'll learn about many more opportunities within the CRA, but also within our city. But we're going to talk about these infill and project opportunities for construction. Next slide. You can go to the next slide. Our Community Development Corporation is expecting to undertake major economic development activity over the next 12 to 18 months in the areas of housing and mixed use projects. Our CDC is adept at bringing together multiple financing types and unique collaborations for successful projects. Right now, we have a large pipeline of buyers and properties, and we just completed a successful house tour last month. Next slide. The first one I'd like to talk about is something that we're all excited about, and that is our 11th Street townhouse development that is located at 11th and Avenue E. And you see the proposed architectural rendering for a Dutch Caribbean style elevation. And this project will have 12 townhomes that will be available for sale. So next slide. Here is an elevation, a frontal elevation. You see the location on the map, and you see the Google map location. And the very interesting thing about this is that the project is about a block and a half from the marina. So someone who is a working person, et cetera, professional can buy here and walk to the water and have views. If you buy one of the 3-story units, have views of the water. Next slide. Here are some of the statistics about the project. There will be 3 2.5s with garages, 1 and 2 car garages, 3-story and 2-story. We expect the price points to be mid to high 200s and to in excess of $300,000. There will be a restrictive covenant so we can make sure that the project remains affordable for those income categories, and there will be subsidy available for this project. Next slide. Here are the vacant lots that make up the site. The building that's on the site has been demolished, so we're ready to begin site development. We're going through the site plan approval process with the city, and we expect to break ground and go vertical or break ground on this in terms of doing the site work and then going vertical next January, February. We already have 2 interested buyers, and we have not even done started our affirmative marketing for the project. Next slide. Here are the floor plans for the 3-story units. Next slide. Floor plans for the 2-story unit. Next slide. Here's the site plan showing the layout for the 12 townhomes, and you see the alley in the back there where the cars will enter from the back into the garages. There will be walkable streets. So even with the construction of the units, there will be paving work and irrigation work and landscaping and painting. So we're looking to really reach out to our local contractors on this project. Next slide. Here are 3 other infill opportunities. The site at 7th Street is in the CRA, and the developer contractor for this site was able to pick up the permit on Friday. It is the first solar home that we'll be doing in the city, so we're excited about that. The next site is a home that was started by the city about 10 years ago, and during the downturn in the housing market was not completed. We're going to complete it for a first-time buyer, so that's a construction opportunity. And the CDC owns the property at 2923 Avenue J, where we intend to construct a new home there. Next slide. The CDC owns this site, which is outside the CRA at 3201 and 3211 Avenue J. We'll be demolishing the 4 townhomes that are there that currently have tenants in them. And eventually we'll be building 28 new townhomes, 3 and 2 bedroom, 2.5 bath townhomes on this particular site. And if you're wondering, we're going to save the demolition for the existing townhomes to the end so that the tenants have the opportunity to buy in the new project, and then we'll tear down the old. Next slide. Here's another digital image of Village of Solano, and this is on Avenue J. Next slide. Another image. Next slide. Here's an overall aerial view of the site with the units on the 2 acres. Next slide. And here is the massing of the various size units. Next slide. Here's an infill lot at Avenue F and 17th Street that we'll be building a new home on in the next slide. Here's an adjacent lot. So we'll have 2 homes right together at Avenue F between 16th and 17th Street. Next slide. There are 3 homes at this intersection of Avenue F and between 12th and 13th Street. Next slide. Here's the second one, and next slide. Here is the third one. And these are right down the block from 4 homes that the CDC built and sold a few years ago that were award winning. So within a block, you'll have 7 new homes, and there are several other private construction projects that are underway as we speak. Next slide. That is my presentation. So I'll stop and entertain any questions from the audience. Anyone?
No, ma'am.
Well, how do you do business with us? Well, your attending this contractor outreach is a good first start. We have a rather simple application that we'll share with you in the coming days with a very easy, quick, and short survey where if you're interested in doing business with the CRA and the CDC, you'll complete this application. We'll check out your license and insurance, et cetera. And then you'll be on our list as we send out solicitations for the various programs where we're asking for bids, proposals, etc. There are some of the projects that will do a general public outreach on, but for instance, for the reclaim program, we go to our contractor list and solicit proposals from them. So by filling out that application, making sure you have your business tax receipt in the city, making sure that you're registered and you understand the procurement process if it's something in the city, and then you have a great opportunity for millions of dollars worth of work. And if you're a small contractor, these deals are sized for small to medium sized contractors. So any other questions? You all are very quiet. Maybe you're tired after a long day's work. If you're interested in seeing the slides, we'll share those with you as well. And if there are no other questions, I want to thank you for your time and your attention. And I wish you good luck in your business endeavors. Let us hear from you. And I just want you to know that the City of Riviera Beach, our Riviera Beach CRA, is open for business. We want to do business and we're interested in doing business with you. So feel free to reach out to us, and we look forward to meeting you in person very soon. So thank you and have a good evening.
One last question, ma'am.
Sure.
You said that you guys will send out the emails so that we can fill out the application for to sign up with you guys.
Yes, we will. We will get that.
Okay.
Get the application to you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you very much, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Bye-bye.